We're so far above her on the internet.
But on that hallowed ground, should that they have put out the images of those?
I don't know what the rules and regulations are. I don't know who did it. And it could have been them. It could have been the parents. It could have been somebody.
It was your campaign's TikTok, though, that put out the video.
I really don't know anything about it.
They're worried about whether there's a camera rolling and whether Trump is using it as a commercial right now. He should use it as a commercial. It was honorable what he did.
A high-profile Trump supporter who was both a Fox News and Newsmax host had a meltdown on video over the fact that Trump is receiving much-deserved pushback for a political stunt involving America's dead veterans, which was so disgusting that even the United States Army officially weighed in. But before we unpack all that, if you end up liking this video and you want to support the channel, please be sure to hit the like, subscribe, and alert bells before you go. All right, friends, we have several clips to talk about in this video. I'm sure most of you at this point have probably heard about the scandal involving the Trump campaign and Arlington National Cemetery. If not, I'll give you a brief refresher about what's going on. But before we do, let's jump into the reaction from Eric Bolling, a former Fox News and Newsmax host. So he has been to some of the craziest, most openly Trump-supporting networks in legacy media, a very high-profile Trump supporter. Well, he had a meltdown over the fact that Trump is facing much-deserved pushback for what his campaign did at Arlington National Cemetery. We're going to play the clip and unpack it together.
Worried about the things that really matter. And I will give you a great example. What they're really worried about is somehow, some way, an aide or an assistant or an advisor to President Trump was rolling a camera when he went to Arlington Cemetery to lay a wreath for the 13 soldiers on the 3rd anniversary of their horrendous death at the hands of general humiliation because he screwed it up so badly. The U.S. State Department, Antony Blinken, and Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. It's their fault. Those people died because they bungled the Afghanistan pullout. And instead of pointing out that Trump was there, putting a wreath in honor of the 13 soldiers, they're worried about whether there's a camera rolling and whether Trump is using it as a commercial right now. He should use it as a commercial. It was honorable what he did. Where was Joe? Where were Kamala? Well, Joe was on a beach in Rehoboth Beach for 2 weeks. He's been on vacation for 2 weeks. He couldn't get his ass off the beach and drive a couple hours or have use Marine One, land it, drop it right into Arlington Cemetery and honor the 14 or 13 soldiers. You say 14 because one of the ladies was pregnant. And honor those people. Instead, the media wants to blame Trump for using it as a fundraising opportunity. Listen, you do it. I mean, it's far better than some of the things they're doing, lying through their teeth. So you have no.
So there you go. You have Eric Bolling having a meltdown. How dare you criticize Donald Trump for violating long-established rules and precedent about using Arlington National Cemetery as a political event, a campaign event, rules that have been applied to both Republicans and Democrats. How dare you do that? Dare you criticize Trump cynically using footage that was recorded of Arlington National Cemetery as campaign fodder? How dare you do that? Trump should do that, says Eric Bolling. Now, again, we'll get into some of the things. I find it, you know what? Let me first say this. We'll get to Trump's response to the scandal because he tried to throw the families, the Gold Star families, under the bus, saying, I think it was actually them. They were the ones recording. They were the ones recorded. It wasn't us. It was them. It was the Trump campaign, and Trump used the footage on official campaign material. So we'll get to Trump's disgusting response. Then we'll get to the military's official response on what happened, and we'll all unpack it because so much of this is so damn sordid.
Should your campaign have put out those videos and photos?
Well, we have a lot of people. You know, we have people, TikTok people. You know, we're leading the internet. That was the other thing. We're so far above her on the internet.
But on that hallowed ground, should they have put out the images of those? I don't know what the rules and regulations are. I don't know who did it. And it could have been them. It could have been the parents. It could have been somebody. It was your campaign's TikTok, though, that put out the video.
I really don't know anything about it. All I do is I stood there and I said, if you'd like to have a picture, we can have a picture. If somebody did it, this was a setup by the people in the administration that, Trump is coming to Arlington. That looks so.
So he can't make up his mind. First, he said, I don't know who did it. It may have been the parents, the families. Then within 5 seconds, it was the White House. It was the Biden administration. They were responsible for it. He has no idea. He's floundering. He's flailing. He's so incomprehensibly confused that what's he doing? Typical malignant narcissist Trump fashion. He just lashes out at everybody else. No accountability, much like Eric Bolling, the former Fox News Newsmax host, whom we discussed in the first clip. Again, he was fact-checked there. No, it was your campaign. Your campaign officially released this material. So yeah, and he has no response. So I didn't know. I have no idea. Pretty pathetic stuff, that which, by the way, conservative pundits and commentators would never accept if the shoe was on the other foot. Imagine if were President Biden standing there, similar circumstances. Would Fox News, would Newsmax, would Eric Bolling, would MAGA Republicans accept that sort of answer from Biden? The same answer that they got from Trump. The answer, of course, is no, because unfortunately, the Republican Party is so profoundly unprincipled and hypocritical that they just simply, whatever Trump says, it doesn't matter. He's perfect. He's godly. He is divine. He can't possibly make a mistake or any sort of like ethical transgression. Pretty pathetic. The other staggering thing about this entire situation wasn't just that it happened. It wasn't just Trump's, categorically callous and lazy and, just totally unprofessional response, but also the fact that it did prompt an official statement from the United States Army. Yes, that United States Army. Yes, the same United States Army that Donald Trump led for 4 years as President of the United States, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces. That United States Army, an apolitical branch comprised mostly of conservatives and people who have been aligned with conservative values and ideology. They released an official statement, and it looks terrible for Donald Trump. Arlington National Cemetery routinely hosts public wreath-laying ceremonies at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier for individuals and groups who submit requests in advance. ANC conducts nearly 3,000 such public ceremonies a year without incident. Participants in the August 26th ceremony and the subsequent Section 60 visit were made aware of federal laws, Army regulations, and DoD policies, which clearly prohibit political activities on cemetery grounds. An ANC employee who attempted to ensure adherence to these rules was abruptly pushed aside. Consistent with the decorum expected at the ANC, this employee acted with professionalism and avoided further disruption. The incident was reported to the JBM-HH Police Department, but the employee subsequently decided not to press charges. Therefore, the Army considers this matter closed. I should say, it was reported that the reason that this employee who notified the Trump campaign on site that they were violating DoD policies, Army regulations, and federal laws by filming and conducting a political event at Arlington National Cemetery, the reason reportedly that she doesn't want to press charges is because she fears for her safety from Trump supporters. She is afraid that she will receive violent pushback from Donald Trump's MAGA cultists. Despicable stuff. The statement goes on to say, this incident was unfortunate, and it's also unfortunate that the ANC employee and her professionalism have been unfairly attacked. ANC is a national shrine to honor the honored dead of the armed forces, and its dedicated staff will continue to ensure public ceremonies are conducted with the dignity and respect the nation's fallen deserves. Pretty despicable stuff from the Trump campaign, which merits an unprecedented response from the apolitical, relatively conservative United States Army. Now, again, you would think that a principled conservative, if there are any left in the Republican Party, would be absolutely disgusted by the Trump campaign. But unfortunately, the Republican Party is the party of moral compromise in every respect. There is no principle so sacred to the Republican Party that they are not willing to sacrifice it for Donald Trump's political expedience. If you have any doubt about that, look no further than top Trump campaign official Chris LaCivita. We're going to play this clip from MSNBC host Chris Hayes, in which it discusses the really insane and unhinged response from the Trump campaign and a person who bent over backwards for years and years and years and years in the world of professional politics to align himself with the United States military.
Then he put it up again with a note, reposting this, hoping to trigger the hacks at the Secretary of the Army's office. The grown man who wrote that post, Chris LaCivita, is a Marine vet whose first big splash in politics was putting together the Swift boat attacks that helped sink John Kerry's presidential campaign in 2004. LaCivita is a guy whose entire career is built on Republicans being the real military-loving patriots. Now, to please Trump, he's reduced to being big mad on social media at U.S. Army.
Wow. That is how the mighty have fallen. Again, this is a Marine veteran. This is a conservative. This is somebody who apparently, again, took the military so seriously that he led the bad faith attacks against John Kerry, Secretary of State John Kerry, also a veteran, when he ran against President Bush in 2004. But all those principles go by the wayside, and he's now attacking his former brothers in arms in the United States military because they rightly, and I mean, apolitically, they didn't even mention Trump. They didn't mention the campaign. It was pretty anodyne, the official statement, even though it condemned the substance of what happened. They clearly went out of their way to avoid politicizing the thing, but that's not enough. How dare you do anything which in any way contradicts Donald Trump's particular whims? Pretty gross stuff. Then we have to get to the other parts and go all the way back to what Eric Bolling, the former Fox News and Newsmax host, said in the very first clip. As he was actively encouraging the Trump campaign to continue to violate Army policy, DOD policy, federal law by making political and campaign hay of deceased veterans. Again, Eric Bolling encouraged that. He also said that the 13 dead soldiers that Trump was going there ostensibly to honor with the wreath-laying ceremony, that they were killed by Joe Biden, that they were killed by Kamala Harris, that they were killed by Lloyd Austin, that they were killed by Antony Blinken, that they were killed by Mark Milley. In fact, those 13 soldiers were killed by an ISIS-K suicide bomber in Afghanistan. Not by President Biden, not by Vice President Harris, not by Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, or General Austin, or the others. Now, if people want to criticize the Biden administration's withdrawal of Afghanistan, they're free to do so because it was not perfect by any stretch. And in hindsight, people consider there's an entire Special Inspector General's report, which goes into the various things that the Biden and Trump administrations could have done differently. You're free to criticize President Biden. You're also free to point out that as commander-in-chief at the time that those 13 U.S. soldiers died, that he bears command responsibility for their deaths, the way that any commanding officer does when anyone dies on their watch. But that's also a standard, if you're being honest and principled, you should also ruthlessly enforce when it's any president, including a Republican president, including Donald Trump. But this is where the standard goes away. See, like Eric Erickson, conservative commentator whom we've discussed in previous videos, and Ben Shapiro. I mean, my God, just look up the number 13 and do like a latest search on Ben Shapiro's Twitter page, and you'll see him repeatedly attacking the Biden-Harris administration for the deaths of those 13 U.S. troops who died in Kabul because of a ISIS-K terrorist. They don't care. Eric Erickson does not care. Ben Shapiro doesn't care. Eric Bolling doesn't care. The guy in the first clip. Donald Trump doesn't care about the fact that there were 45 combat deaths in Afghanistan on Donald Trump's watch. More U.S. troops died, were killed in Afghanistan under Donald Trump than Joe Biden. Many more, much more. So to the extent that you evaluate a candidate's qualification for president, fitness to be president, because of the number of troops who died on their watch, then very few Republican presidents would be qualified for office. Certainly President Bush wouldn't be. Certainly Donald Trump wouldn't be compared to either Joe Biden or Kamala Harris. But they don't care about that. The 45 troops who died on Trump's watch, they do not care. They do not care about these people. Deaths only matter to Republicans when they happen in such a way that they can be used against Democrats politically. That's disgusting. If we're going to evaluate presidents by that sort of grim statistic, fine, but by any objective measure, Democrats are infinitely better to be president than Republicans, and certainly Biden or Harris over Trump or Pence. It just depends on how consistent you want to be. Of course, the problem with Republicans is they know if they hold to consistent standards, they lose 9 times out of 10. So they don't. Pretty disgusting, despicable stuff for which they should be relentlessly, all of them, Eric Bolling, Eric Erickson, Ben Shapiro, Donald Trump, all of them should be relentlessly criticized for what they do. In the meantime, you let me know what you think in the comments.